Hi, Ray Hayden here, and this video is going to be part of my law study series. This one here is going to be talking about the California bar exam because I'm currently preparing for the July 2019 California bar exam. Now this video, even though I'm talking about the July 29 administration of the California bar exam, should be an evergreen kind of video. Until things change massively, I don't expect anything to change. Everything's going to be the same. Nothing really changes. We've gone from, since I started studying law, I went from the 3-day exam in California to the 2-day exam in California. People were excited. They were happy about it. And I'm like, it does nothing but save us a little bit of money. The end result is going to be identical. It's not going to change. Nothing's going to change. In fact, since then, pass rates have actually gone down. All right. So, what's the answer to that? Right. So what I want to talk about is the report that came back to the Supreme Court and the State Bar of California on the study that was done about the California bar exam. So in order to find that, we go to calbar.ca.gov up here, and I will have the link to this in the description below, and I will also have the link to the actual report in the description below. But this is how you find it. You go to the main page and just click on News, right? That's going to give us a new page, and if we go to the Reports section over here and click on that, it's going to give us a list of reports, and by published date and title. So if we go down to 2018 and we scroll up there a little bit, or scroll down a little bit, we're going to find the 2018 bar exam report, right? Not a whole lot of fanfare, not a whole lot of descriptive information going in there, but that is the title. It is what it is. If we click on that, we're going to find this is the next page we're going to see. Now, this is page 1 of 306. So like reading if you're having trouble sleeping at night. And let's go into the report a little bit and go down to page 95 of 306. So page 95 starts Appendix A, the final report on the 2017 California Bar Exam Standard Setting Study, which is this right here. And it's a final report submitted by Dr. Chad W. Buckendahl of ACS Ventures. So a whole lot of people went into helping this out, getting the numbers, doing the study and everything else, but it's submitted by Dr. Buckendahl, was probably the lead statistician or whatever on the study to present this back to the state of California for the California Bar and the California Supreme Court. So if we jump down into the report a bit, we're going to come down into scores. Now this is the most, let's say, transparent thing I've ever found as far as grades. Like, what are the average grades given to the average student across the board and everything else? And I found this number right here, and I'm going to blow this page up. I'm going to zoom in on this next page to show us this chart, this graph here and this chart down here, or chart and graph, whatever, this information down here. The scores, as we know, range from 40 to 100, but in this particular sampling here, nobody scored 100, all right? So, 100 is pretty rare. As a matter of fact, let's look at the frequency. Now, these are the actual numbers, and then they selected from that to do the study. But I'm only going to deal with the actual numbers because those are the ones I care about, and the ones you should care about as well because we are in the actual set of numbers, right? Of a 40 and 45, to me, these are people who ran out of time. They either completely went blank on the question, they ran out of time, something went horribly wrong for them, and 436 plus 29, less than 500 people, or about 460 people or something like that, they ran out of time, okay? And that's what happens. So here's the good thing is, this running out of time is either on the last question of the day, or they completely blew it and went blank on a question and skipped it, thinking they would come back to it and didn't have time to finish it off. Or they went back to it and had plenty of time and they just couldn't pull the issues out of the fact pattern to write them up well enough to do better than a 40 or 45. There's nothing inherently bad about any of these scores. It's just unfortunately that for that particular subject matter of that particular exam, a couple of people, and these could be, this might be only, somebody scored a 40 once. And the rest of their exams were very high scoring or much higher scoring than a 40, right? Same with the 45s. All of these people could have had much higher scores on other exams. Hopefully, the people who didn't, hopefully somebody didn't hit all 40s, right? Or all 45s. I think that's probably unlikely no matter what, because you're always going to have some kind of a subject that you just are good at, right? So that's one thing there. The next thing I noticed is this huge jump from 45 to 50. I find this to be very promising, and I'll talk about that a little bit later in more detail. Same thing from 50 to 55, huge jump. Only a slight jump from 55 to 60, but that doesn't matter so much when I go from 60 to 65, because 65 and above is absolute passing. okay, as far as the written side and the essays go. If you get a 65 and above, you're passing. Now you want as above as you can get because you see that these numbers drop precipitously immediately. You'll see it on the graph below there, but I wanted to look at the numbers first before we go down and look at the percentages down below. In this, to me, it used to be that a 70 was passing. You know, we're always told that 70 is passing, it's a C, right? Now, if you're in grad school, if I was in grad school and I wrote C's, I got F's. A C was an F. You had to get a B or an A. It was a master's program. You better well be mastering your information, right? So anything lower than an 80 was a failure. So but for the bar exam, it's actually a 62.5. Now, a bunch of friends of mine from different schools and different programs, right? ABA schools and not, right? Over the years, we have done a great big number of calculations and things of that nature, and basically determined that 62.5 on average, a score that you cannot possibly get, is actually going to put you in a wheelhouse to pass, all right? So is it absolute passing? No, you still need to do very well on the MBEs, which I'm not going to really go into in this particular video, and I have a lot to say about that. But anyways, the point is that a 62.5 will put you in a wheelhouse to pass the California bar on the written side of the exam, all right? Now, if you're going to get something better than a 62.5, which is a 65, is the lowest one better than that, and a 70, if you're going to get a 65, 70, 75, or an 80 or higher, you want that to be on the PT. All right, if you're only going to get one high score like that, you want it to be on the PT. If the rest of your score is going to be 60 and maybe a 55, you want that to be on an individual essay because the PT is worth 2 essays, right? So you want that extra boost where it really counts, and that's on a performance test. So you really want to do well on a performance test to the best of your ability to get that job done and get the highest score you possibly can on the PT, but you really want the highest score you can possibly get across the board. We have to fight tooth and nail for every point we can get, and this is what this is showing. Now let's go down to the visual representation below, all right? It's painfully obvious that 55 and 60, which are not passing scores, are the most frequently given on the actual exam, on the actual number of people that they've tested. These are the selected people, but these are the actual, right? On the actual exams, 55 to 65 is the number one group between those 15, those 10 points. Between 55 and 65, that's where people are going to, hit. So you've been a great student. You're an A+++ student. You are the universe's gift to the lawyerly mind. On a California bar exam, it's more often than not, you're going to hit between 55s and 65s. It's just the way it is. And I have a lot to say about that, but I'm not going to go into that in this particular video. There's also a high percentage of 50s. Higher percentage of 50s than there are 70s. All right. And then the good news is a better percentage of 75s and 80s than there are 45s. All right. And 40s are pretty low, pretty rare. All right. So that's good. 90s, 95s, and 100s are slim to none. All right. It's going to be very few. As you can see, 85, they had 178, 33 90s, and 3 95s. And I'm sure they had 0 100s. All right. So nobody's going to really be hitting the Grand Slam home run and getting 100 on the California bar exams. It's going to happen. In fact, more often than not, we're going to be hitting somewhere between 55 and 65 on the written side of our exams. Now, here's what I wanted to say is because I always thought 70 was passing, 65 was a low pass, right? 60 was failing with respect, and 55 kept you in the game. I've had to evolve that because of all the studying that my friends and I have done, or my cohorts and I have done over the years, looking at the exams, and 62.5 is pretty much passing percentage. It also ends up the same way because I did alternative open and distance learning to study law. I had to take the first year law students bar exam, or first year law students examination, also sometimes called the baby bar, right? It'll eat you for breakfast, burp you up for lunch, forget about you by dinner like nobody's business. It has an 80% failure rate, okay? So people like me who've gone through the open and distance learning process with an exam smacking us in the face every 6 months or whatever, twice a year, like the bar exam, in June and October, however, this thing slapping us in the face like nobody's business, and it has an 80% failure rate, right? So we've made it through that. So we see a 40% or 35% or a 30% pass rate, we're okay. We'd like it to be a whole lot better. We'd like it to be us, right? If the pass rate's 1% and it's us, does it matter, right? At that particular point, that was some example I've seen. It's like if you got the lowest passing score, you still passed, and you'll never know because you don't get your score back. But here's the point on this: if we hit 60, 65s, we're okay, because 65 is absolute passing in our opinion, right? In my opinion specifically, a 62.5 is passing, 65 is absolute passing. A 60 is a low pass, 55's not too, it's a low pass. It's okay, it's a low pass. So 65 is a passing, 60 and 55, I have to group them in together now. As I'm making this video, I really got to group them in based on what I'm looking at right here. It's painfully obvious to me. Both of these are a low pass. They keep you in the wheelhouse, they keep you in the game, but you need a 60, you need a couple of 65s, and a 70 would really be sweet, right? The 50 will keep, 50 hurts. That's a low, that's a high failure, right? That keeps you in a ball game, right? So if 65 is passing, 60 and 65 are low pass, 50 is a high failing, okay? That keeps you in the game, and it's obvious right here. It keeps you in the game. As long as you get a couple more 65s, a 70, and help, if goodness shines its face upon you and you get a 75 or above, that 50 is not going to hurt you too much if you did 60s, 65s on the rest of the exam, all right? And especially if you scored that high score on your performance test. All right, so that's really what I want to talk about in this one here, and I'm pretty much done talking about at this point. This is the report. Go to the California Bar website. Let's go back 2 spaces here. All right, from the California Bar website, click on News, click on Reports, slide on down to the 2018 California Bar Exam Report. All right, that's going to bring you here. Scroll on down to a page 95 of 306. That starts the actual report rather than all the discussion above. And then if we look over here, down here on page 106 of 306, we can see these numbers. All right, so don't beat yourself up too much about getting scores. Your scores are vitally important. That's how we pass or fail, right? And this is, by the way, this is from July of 2016. I just want to point that out, okay? That's where they grabbed those numbers from. But statistically speaking, across the board, exam after exam, year after year, year over year, however you want to say it, this is going to be pretty much probably the distribution, right? No matter what the numbers are, how many people, like this number down here, the 53,000, I don't care if it's 300,000 or 10,000, right? Whatever it is. And that's the number of exams, not number of people taking the exam. But even if it's the number of people taking the exam, 800 people or 3,000 people take the exam, statistically speaking, that's what's going to happen. This is the fallout that's going to happen. So if you're between 65 and 65, 55 and 65, don't beat yourself up too much. And now let me give you the really good news. As I mentioned in the beginning of the video, I hope I did, maybe I didn't, but I finished my law study program in December of 2017. I took my final exams in the first couple of weeks of December. I took the final exams. I had to wait for my scores to come back and officially graduate. But I prepared for the February 2018 California Bar exam, and I did not get, life got in the way. Things happen. I'm a self-employed, older man, right? I'm in my 50s. So I am looking at this exam, and I'm like, I want to know if my plan of attack is working. Now, we've all heard of these things. You can take a practice exam. You can have former graders grade your exam and everything else. And that's all fine and dandy. I have nothing against that idea. If that's what you need to get the job done, that's fine. But for me, the quote-unquote practice test is the actual bar exam. I'm not going to know anything exactly until I take the exact exam graded by the actual graders who are actually grading the exam I take, okay? And it counts. If I mess up completely and pass, I pass. But if I go in there and I do what I do, I try what I try, and I get my results back, I know exactly where I sit, okay? Now here's the thing, and this is why this is vitally important. I can sit there and go take practice exams all day long, pay graders all kinds of money to grade my exams, give me their feedback and all that. But the fact of the matter is, I need to go in and see what I was doing. I needed to go in and see if my plan of attack was going to be in the realm of getting a job done for me. And the only way to do that is to sit for the actual California Bar exam. Some of these programs I saw are not that inexpensive. So sitting for the actual California Bar exam, even flying out to California from Florida to take the exam, pass or fail, is financially not, within the wheelhouse of signing up for some expensive tutoring program. So here's the deal. I did not prepare as well as I needed to do for my own standards. We all have our own standard. We need to be in our wheelhouse. We need to be feeling good about the exam or feeling okay-ish about the exam, right? We don't know what's going to happen until exam day, but we need to do the very best we can to get ourselves in position to do as best we can on the exam. So I did not get myself anywhere near where I wanted to be on the written side of the house. I did everything I wanted to do, everything I planned to do, I did for the MBE side of the exam. Now, I'm not really talking about the MBE side of the exam other than to say that I did not do well on the MBE. I did everything I needed to do. I took 2 practice exams, 200 questions, all right? I did that twice the morning of the MBE, and I still went in and blew it. Now, I did well in, of all things, torts, civil procedure, evidence, and criminal law. I did okay, but I blew it in real property, contracts, and constitutional law. Absolutely blew it. So my score was measured, was qualified out to be pretty bad on the MBEs, and I did everything I intended to do for the MBE side of the exam. I did nothing near where I wanted to be for the written side of the exam, but I did much better. I thought I was going to get 40, 45s, lucky if I got a 50 at all, because I was nowhere near where I needed to be. So this is what my essays were, my scores, for the February 2018 California Bar Exam. I got 2 50s, right? 2 55s, and a 60 on the essays, all right? So to me, that was pretty darn phenomenal. Now, I did 0 preparation in any way, shape, or form for the performance test. On a performance test, I got a 55, all right? Now, my thought at the time is I would prefer to do 20 or 100 performance tests over these written essay things, all right? Give me the performance test. Apparently, the performance test is what a new attorney in the field would be pretty much asked to do these tasks. How well do you do them and stuff like that. All the information is in front of you, and some probably unimportant information, but information is given to you in front of it. Do some research, write up an answer. I'd really prefer to do a week's worth of those, 10 a day, whatever it is. I'd really prefer to do that than to do the essay questions, because I'm not good at the essay questions. However, I did get 2 50s, 2 55s, and a 60. So if we look at that, I got 2 50s, right? 2 55s, and a 60. And I got a 55 on a performance test, which is like 2 more 55s. So I really didn't do that bad. In my own opinion, I did fantastic on the written side, having not prepared up to my own level of standard for the written side. Still failed. Still means I'm going back and doing it again. But the fact of the matter, I was very happy with the fact that I did that well on the written side, plus seeing what I did, did not do well on the MBE side. That gave me the information. Like I said, I want to validate my process, see what I'm doing, see what I'm doing wrong, what I'm doing right, what's going and how I need to go about it. That's what was really valuable for me on that particular exam, because I said I did so badly on the MBEs. I needed to do something different and tweak that effort in a different way, different direction, to try to do better. So that's what I'm doing now in my preparation. Now, I also want to share one more thing. I'll share it with you probably at the end of every video. Once I do pass the exam, just like I did with the first year law students examination, I share what I did with everybody else. I don't charge any money for that. I don't have a course or anything like that. I just basically tell people, this is what I did, this is how I did it, this is what worked for me. Each of us learns in different ways. I am best in asynchronous open and distance learning. A lot of people can't learn that way. It's not easier, it's just the way I learn best. Open and distance learning is the second best. I learn rather well that way also. I do not learn very well when I have to be at the same place and time as everybody else. When you say, hey, look, 6 o'clock at night every Wednesday of every week, you got to be in a class. That does not work well for me. And if you tell me I got to be at a certain location, a brick and mortar location, like a traditional ABA accredited law school, where you got to go sit in class Monday through Thursday or whatever it is at a certain date and time, that is horrible for me. I just simply cannot get that done. But some people learn better in different ways. So anyways, I'm going to wrap this up with that. And once I do pass, I'm going to share exactly what I did. I don't charge any money for it, but I do accept donations. So I don't expect any right now. I haven't passed yet. But once I do, I'm keeping really good notes about what I'm doing, how I'm doing it, and why I'm doing the things the way I am. And I can absolutely positively teach that to other people, and I will once I do eventually pass the California Bar Exam. So with that, I was going to wrap it up for this one. Don't forget to give me that thumbs up, like this video. Don't forget to make that comment below. Let me know you came by to say hey, and give me your thoughts and ideas on the whole California Bar Exam experience. And also, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. You want to see more of these things, by all means, hit the subscribe button, and they say ring that bell. But at least remember Ray Hayden and where I'm at, so you can find me in the future. With that, until I catch you in the next video, take care and be well.